Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to our live stream, emergency meeting settings game week 5. Is there cause for concern? Is this just a bad day at the office? Another miserable afternoon at Old Trafford for the Blues. There's loads to dive into, loads of questions. Robert Sanchez, Maresca, the recruitment. Where next for Chelsea? Is this a major blow? Are we in trouble? Loads and loads to dive into, guys. I really want to hear your thoughts in the chat. As always, smash up the like, subscribe if you're new around here. Get involved in the chat, guys. Big up to everybody that's already locked in. Before we get into it, guys, just a quick reminder. Make sure you check out Jersey's FC Soccer Shop. Link is in the description. Use code BLUEBROTHER for 20% off. Great quality, affordable prices, names, numbers, patches, whatever you want on the back. Use the link in the description. Jersey's FC Soccer Shop, 20% off. And guys, I will be doing a giveaway as well. And I'm gonna give this away. Let me just quickly get to it now. What am I doing? Guys, I will be doing a giveaway, by the way, on the channel. You lot can have a chance to win this. I'll release details in due course, but you lot have got a chance to win this, courtesy of Jersey's FC Soccer Shop. From them, we have got the third kit with a Club World Cup badge, Champions League settings on the sleeve, as seen here, and Mr. Esteval Willian on the back here. Okay, guys, I'm going to be giving this away. Make sure you stay tuned for details. I'll announce details next week. All right, guys, so I'll be giving this top away. All right. Anyway, that's enough about the promo. That's enough about all of that stuff. Let's get into what we're here for. Chelsea, an absolute disaster yesterday. On a personal level for me, probably the worst away day I have ever experienced. Shocking performance. Manchester, the weather was absolutely abysmal. I've never experienced rain like it. I've never experienced weather like it. It was an absolute joke. And then the performance matched it up. Absolutely shambolic. Threw the game away after 4 minutes. We're going to get into all that. And then Maresca's substitutions basically showed his intentions, and he gave up on the game after 4 minutes by taking off Esteval and Pedro Neto, leaving ourselves no out ball, leaving ourselves no way of getting up the pitch. Yeah, there was a bit of fight in the last 10 minutes when we got a goal back. That's the bare minimum you expect. The bare minimum you expect. But what are you lot saying in the chat? I mean, we haven't spent 2 billion, but yeah, I get the point. I get the point. Should have signed Manyan. Yeah, we're going to get into all this. I wouldn't go as far as saying we're finished. No, we're not finished. Top 4 race this season. It could well be. There's one winner. If it doesn't change, Maresca will get sacked. Look, I think it's a bit early to be talking about that. That is the question, Danny, that all Chelsea fans would love to know. Why is this brother still in goal? Defense is poor, but these are all the things that I've said, that many of us have said. The centre-back situation at Chelsea is not good enough. We had a month after Levi Colwill got injured to sort the situation out, and we didn't sort it out. Enzo Maresca publicly stated he wanted a centre-back on more than one occasion. We didn't get him one, and look at how we are defending at centre-half. Look at the goals we're conceding. The goals we're conceding are so bad. The goals we're conceding are absolutely awful. Look at the ones we've conceded this season, right? The one against West Ham, we lost possession and then we stood off and they broke on us. Yes, it's a great shot from Paqueta, but it's a poor goal to concede. The 2 goals against Brentford were woeful to concede. The 3 against Bayern Munich were shocking defensive mistakes. And the 2 goals that we conceded yesterday, more of the same. Absolutely awful defending. I knew it. Sanchez got injured or got a red card, we'd be hurting. That's what I mean. Yeah, we needed another keeper. We did. No, what I would say is, right, it's not Maresca's fault that Sanchez got sent off and that changed the game. However, the substitutions are on Maresca, and he got that horribly wrong yesterday. His performance yesterday, in terms of how he managed the game, was an absolute disgrace, in my opinion. An absolute disgrace in terms of the substitutions from Maresca yesterday. You know, the substitutions were absolutely on him. Okay, they were. Look, that's simple as that. Simple as that. He was at fault for the subs, but again, the centre backs was dreadful. If we had better options, you could argue that we would be doing better. We were doing a lot better, and people perhaps wouldn't be moaning. We're 2 wins from 5 in the Premier League this season. We should be doing better than that with the start to the season that we've had in terms of our opening fixtures. You know, we've had one of the easiest starts. We shouldn't need a perfect squad to beat Crystal Palace at home, to beat Brentford away from home. However, I was very strong about the manager in this game and fully stand by that. However, he's got credit in the bank. He massively overachieved last season, in my opinion, in terms of what we did. Pretty much every game we've dropped points in this season, bar the Palace one, our players have made individual mistakes because they're not good enough. That's the simple reality here. Every game we've dropped points in, bar the opening game against Palace, we've all made individual mistakes. In every single one, we've gifted goals. We've gifted teams goals in every single one of our games. That's not on the manager. As a manager, how can you atone for that? How can you atone for it as a gaffer? What are you supposed to do? Like, you must be there. I mean, if he had any hair, he'd be tearing it out. You must be watching on the sidelines and just thinking, what am I supposed to do here? I asked for a centre-back and I asked for a goalkeeper. The club didn't give them to me. Yes, you've got to make do with what you've got, and yes, you've got to work with what you've got and improve with what you've got. I absolutely hear that. However, if he was given a top quality proven centre-back and a top goalkeeper, proven options on the wings, better depth at centre forward, yes, you know, obviously we lost the lap and that's unfortunate, then I don't think we'd be in this position of 2 wins from 5. You know, this is how we are. This is how we operate. This is the type of ownership that we have. You know, at whatever stage it gets to with Maresca, and at whatever point he does move on or get sacked or whatever, whenever that may be in time, I think there's a pretty good chance that Liam Rosenior would be the next manager. Do any of us want that? Is he any better or any different than Maresca? No, of course he's not. The problem is, guys, is that there are too many players in the squad who are a net negative on this football club and on this team. Let me get to the bottom of this. I still don't forgive these for selling Petrovic. No, Petrovic isn't world class, but he's clearly better than Sanchez. And I'll be honest, bro. Jorgensen's horror as well. The second goal that we conceded yesterday was absolutely abysmal. One of the worst goals we'll concede all season. Reece James hoofs the clearance up in the air. That's poor to begin with. Jorgensen is like a metre away from the ball and just stands there. Doesn't come and claim it. Poor goalkeeping. And then someone loses the header and it gets flicked onto Casemiro or whatever it was. That is a pathetic goal to concede. Yeah, and bro, that's what I've been saying. That's where it's not on him. But the subs are on him because he basically gave up the game after 4 minutes against a woeful Man United side and literally chucked in the towel and said, nah, the best we can do here is a 0-0. That's what those substitutions said. And that's what that approach said to me. That is what that approach said to me. If you think that's harsh, then fair enough. But that is exactly what that approach said to me. To be honest, it's not just the goalkeeper. It was Trev that mistimed the header, right? But this is what I'm talking about with Robert Sanchez. Okay, you're 4 minutes in to a game. Why are you coming for that ball? If you stay back, then the chances are you probably collect it. Okay, or the chances are Mbeumo, right, he might score. We're 1-0 down, 5 minutes in. Shocking start. We've still got all our players on the pitch. Mbeumo might miss. Why, after 4 minutes, are you making a decision like that? Decision-making at the highest level is so important. And once again, Sanchez has made another horrendous decision. We are not talking about a young, inexperienced player, 22, 23 years of age goalkeeper. We are talking about someone who is an experienced goalkeeper, 27, 28 years of age. It's unacceptable to be doing that. Unacceptable to be making those types of mistakes. And this is why I never went over the top and thought, oh, Sanchez has changed. Because he hasn't changed. He's always been a decent shot stopper. He's always, made a few decent saves here and there, which has kept us in games. And he's been praised for that in isolation, as he should be. However, when you're looking at the bigger picture, a leopard never changes its spots, and neither does a Sanchez. You are always going to get this from this goalkeeper. Every 8 to 10 games, there's going to be an absolute howler from him. There's going to be a howler. And you saw Maresca's reaction yesterday. He didn't want Sanchez. He doesn't rate Sanchez. But we're stuck with him. And do you know what the most damning indictment of this is? He's actually better than Jorgensen. And I don't think I'd be saying that. He's actually better than Jorgensen. Jorgensen doesn't look up to the business whatsoever. And I just do not understand how we spend so much money and sign so many players, yet we cannot get a single goalkeeping signing right. I don't get it. And I said it after the game myself yesterday with Sanchez. It was like when we used to watch Reece, when Reece was constantly getting injured. Touch wood, he's now over the worst of that, and he stayed fit for a significant period of time. So fair play to him for that one. So fair play to him for that one. But this is what he's always going to do. This is never changing. It's never changing. That's the reality. Both goalkeepers are nowhere near good enough. The ceiling for these goalkeepers is top 4. Both goalkeepers are bang average at best. Bang average at best, chat. We have to be so real about this. The defence is poor. It is. We're playing our 3rd and 4th choice centre-backs as our starting centre-backs. That's unfortunate because Levi Colwell's out. Wesley Fofana, we don't know what level he's going to get back to. And I'd have far more sympathy for this situation if Colwell had gone down after the transfer window or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, we had a whole month to react to Levi Colwell's injury. Public pleas from Maresca. And all we got from the board was, no, we don't see anyone out there that's a good enough opportunity. Oh, these UEFA sanctions and all that. Yes, the UEFA sanctions restricted us to a certain extent. Agreed. But how about, instead of signing 5 attackers, why don't you sign 3 attackers and get a goalkeeper and a centre-back? We'd be far better off with 2 less attackers and a goalkeeper and a centre-back. Spare me Buonanotte and spare me Gittins. And then go and get me a goalkeeper and a centre-half and keeper Jackson or whatever it might be. Because then the squad would actually be in a much better position than it is now. And another problem that I've got, chat. I want to say I was concerned. I was majorly disappointed with it, though. Majorly disappointed with it. I thought it was quite cowardly, to be honest. Yes, big up, brother. Yeah, of course he is. Once he's served his ban, he'll be straight back in. Yeah, I'm going to get onto this. I'm going to get onto this because I think that is very much the case. Yeah, that's on Maresca, but the mistakes from individual players is not on the manager. And I'll say it again. The mistakes are not on the manager in terms of the individual errors being made. It's not the gaffer's fault that no one can mark the back stick. Players having lapses of concentration. Terrible 1v1 defending from Tosin against Brentford. I will hold fire on major criticism of the manager until we're in situations where he's getting totally outclassed by opposition gaffers. But that's not happened yet. However, we need to deal with the facts here. I don't want to sound like Rafa Benitez doing facts, that famous facts press conference. But I'm going to deliver some facts right now in terms of what is going on here at Chelsea, because there are some concerns. There are some concerns, and these. Chat, I'm going to get to. I'm going to have to scroll to the bottom of the chat. There's so much stuff coming through. If you want to guarantee your chat gets read out, please do use the super chat function. Any donation is greatly appreciated, no matter how big or small. Otherwise, I'll just get through as many as I can. But these are the facts right here, chat. These are the facts, okay? We are 2 wins from 5 games. We haven't even got to the busy period of the season yet, November, December time. You know, if we carry on doing this for much longer, then it is going to be a battle for the top 4, top 5 places. Brighton on the weekend is now a massive, massive game. I'd almost say at game week 6, that's must win, which sounds absolutely mental, but that sounds like it's must win already. People talk about title challenging, with the money spent and the expectation should be to win the league and to challenge for the league. After 5 games, we are already 7 points off Liverpool, and we haven't played a single team that finished in what? The top. Let me think off the top of my head. We haven't played a single team that finished in the top 8 last season. We've not played a single team who finished in last season's top 8. Okay? This is not me being negative. This is me speaking truth and facts. And the reality here is, guys, is that we were supposed to be getting closer to the top, but it looks like the gap between us and the teams we're competing with is getting bigger. And that, for me, is a major concern. Major, major concern. The gap looks like it's getting bigger. That's peak. It's really, really poor. No, of course not. I'm not manager out, because this is it would take a lot for me to be manager out. Right now, we're in tricky circumstances. No doubt about it. We are in a tricky situation right now. Let's make that abundantly clear. Let's make it abundantly clear. We are in a tricky situation right now, but there's only so much we can do, guys. There's only so much we can do. Maresca is slightly hamstrung with the quality of options that he's got and the players at his disposal. And this is what I want to get to on my next point, because I look at the substitutions yesterday. You're chasing a game. You're 2 goals down. You've got £90 million of wingers on the bench that was signed in the summer. And you've got Mark Guiu, who was recalled. We're desperately looking for a goal, and none of those 3 players get on the pitch. No Garnacho, no Gittins, no Mark Guiu. Now, let's look into this, right? Because Maresca's reasoning for Garnacho not coming on was Wes indicated he wanted to go off, so he put on Gusto at left back. Brother, You are 2-0 down, losing the game. We need attackers on the pitch. We need some impetus. Spare me needing a left back on the pitch. Chuck Garnacho on that left wing. Get Mark Guiu up front. The reality of the situation is, guys, Maresca does not rate Mark Guiu. I've said this from last season and from when he came back as well. Maresca does not rate this brother. He doesn't. He never wanted him. Bro, I'm just having a conversation about some concerns that I feel are at the club right now. If you disagree, then that's fine. But this is a platform where people can share their opinions and can disagree, and it's absolutely fine. I've got no problem with that. You know, if people want to go in echo chambers where all that's said is their own opinions, then that's fine. But I'm giving my opinion, and this is what I feel at this point in time. If you disagree with me, that's fine. I haven't got a problem with that. But to me, the concern for me is that I'm not sure, and this is a concern, right? Okay, I'm not saying this is factually true or anything like that. But my biggest concern right now is that Maresca wasn't really involved in the summer recruitment. Wasn't really involved in the summer recruitment. Because Tyreek George wanted to leave the football club, was about to leave Chelsea to go and join Fulham for £22 million. And yet he's getting semi-regular minutes. And Maresca seems to prefer him over £90 million of wingers on the bench. Clearly didn't want Mark Guiu back, as I've referenced. He cried out publicly on multiple occasions for a centre-back and then backtracked on those comments and said that he didn't want one. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? It's evident, in my view, that the summer signings weren't rated. You know, I'm not saying all of them. Joao Pedro is obviously a top player, has done really well. Fully agree on that. Has done really well, but he is the only player really that has been signed who improves the first team. Once again, there are too many unproven players being flooded into the squad. That's the reality here. But if we look at this, okay, and this is a small sample size, okay, and this, of course, can change. But right now, if we look at things objectively after the first 5 Premier League matches, for me, it's clear as day, Maresca doesn't trust some of the players that were signed for big money in the summer. Of course, it can change. They're young. Things change quickly in football. But right now, it's not particularly encouraging, guys. It's not particularly encouraging, guys. No, I'm not trying to create any chaos at all. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just sharing my opinions on stuff, and opinions can change when fact changes. But right now, this is how I'm feeling about certain situations. Doesn't mean I'm not manager out. I'm not, get the board out and all this sort of thing. I'm sharing my opinions. That is what I am doing. Sharing my opinions. Guys, keep smashing the likes as well. We're over 100 in the building. Make sure you run it up, guys. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it, guys. It helps out more than you can imagine. The YouTube algorithm is stinging people big time. Over 100 people would have been about 300 or 400 a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, every smash of the like button does more than you could imagine. So please smash that like button, and please, please, please subscribe if you are new around here. I greatly appreciate it. And this is also a fair point. You know, you can't expect players to improve if they're not playing. And this is where I think Maresca has to deal with what he's got. This is where he's got to deal with what he's got. And he's got the squad that he's got. Whether he wanted those players, whether he rates those players, whether he likes those players, as a manager, you need to use what's at your disposal, whatever your feelings are. So that's where I think he needs to do better. Big up to Top Dog. Clear disconnect between Recruitment and Maresca. Yeah, look, early evidence is suggesting that perhaps he wasn't that involved in the summer, and perhaps he's not happy with the business that was done. I think that's a fair situation to say. Yeah, look, that's my opinion. I'm not saying this is factually correct. I'm saying that's the opinion I'm getting from the evidence that we're seeing so far, guys. Bro, unfortunately, we're not in a position to be doing things like that. You know, if you're a mid-table side or whatever, then that's okay. You can sort of get away with doing that. When you're Chelsea and you're trying to do what we're trying to do and achieve what we're looking to do, then you can't afford to give players a run of 10 games straight to try and bed them in. We just haven't got that in us. I think we have to accept that the sporting directors aren't going anywhere. They're doing the job that they were asked to do, and they're carrying it out very well, as per the club. So yeah. Yeah, look, I think you can absolutely say that. I mean, I said this yesterday. I do agree to a certain extent. The only time you ever see Reece James play his actual position is when we're chasing the game and we're chasing a result. That's the only time you see Reece James play his position. You know, and it was refreshing to see him getting forward, getting up and down that right flank. You know, but again, it's too little, too late. I'd love to see more of that from the off, but I don't think that's the way that Reece James is going to be used moving forward. It's not. But and this is another thing, by the way, guys. When you sign so many players and there's such a constant high turnover of players, it can be very difficult to build anything. It can be very difficult to build anything successful because you're constantly dealing with 5-6 new players in the squad every summer. And I don't know how sustainable that really is. You know, the aim with the money spent should be winning a Premier League title in the next few years. I don't know if we're actually getting closer to winning a Premier League title right now. I really don't know. And this is and when I talk about the manager looking like he doesn't trust some of the players who are bought for big money, this for me is the biggest flaw in our strategy. Because essentially what's happening is every summer you are starting again with raw players. And the biggest concern for me is that this is how this ownership operate. And there doesn't seem to be any signs that they look like they're going to evolve. So every summer just sees a mass turnover of players. And that for me is hampering our ability and our chances to take steps forward. That's what I'm talking about. You know, you talk about closing the gap to your Liverpools and to your teams like that. It doesn't look like we're closing the gap, chat. It doesn't look like the gap's closing. It really doesn't. And that's a concern. Why Tyreek George is getting minutes over summer signings. Mark Guiu getting no minutes. Look, I'm by no means a huge Mark Guiu fan whatsoever. But you don't have any number 9 in the squad right now. Out and out 9. Guiu's an out and out 9. Why would you not just at least use him? Do you know what I mean? Surely you just go and use him. And this is where Maresca's got to make better use of the options that he has. You know, he's got to make better use of the options that he's got. And that would be a criticism of mine, is that you might not be happy with things, but you need to use what you've got. You've got to use what you've got. And we need to see more of it. Bro, the George thing's mad. And I'm not hating on players. But let's be real. Tyreek George is not good enough. He's not good enough. It's as simple as that. He contributed a small amount towards the end of last season. Fantastic. The reality is, for the goals that we're chasing, Tyreek George cannot be playing regular minutes for Chelsea Football Club. It's as simple as that. It really is, guys. I mean, they didn't block a George loan. Tyreek George, the deal was done with Fulham. £22 million. He was there to do his medical, but the deal required Jack Harrison to leave. Not Jack Harrison, sorry. Harry Wilson to leave for Leeds, and that move fell through. Therefore, there was no space for Tyreek George in the. Fulham couldn't create space for George in the squad. That's why it fell through. But I get the feeling that Maresca's going for tried and tested. At least he knows what he's going to get from George. I don't think he really knows what he's getting from a Garnacho, or doesn't really know what he's getting from a Gittins. And he clearly doesn't rate Mark Guiu. So, again, Jarell Hato as well. Hato, this is the thing, right? Hato's a backup at the end of the day. Hato was signed as a backup for Cucurella. We're not going to see Hato in, every game, because Cucurella is the first choice left back, and Hato is not going to start that often over him in the league. He's not going to get that. He's not going to get in over him in the league. The centre back situation with Hato is an interesting one. However, at Ajax, Francesco Farioli, when he arrived from Nice, he wasn't convinced that Hato had the qualities to be a centre-back, so he changed him to a full-back, and he's done much better there, and that's why he got the move to Chelsea. And correct, and Maresca said so after the Brentford draw. He needs time to adapt. And this is, again, goes back to my earlier point. When you're constantly starting again with raw players, bringing 4 or 5 players into the squad who all need time to adapt, this is hampering the team, and this is affecting the team going forward. If you get where I'm coming from, chat, it's affecting the team going forward. Yeah, Guiu's had no minutes, easy. Esteval, I don't know if he's got more minutes than Esteval. I don't reckon he's got more minutes than Esteval, but obviously he's got more minutes than Garnacho as well. I'm not changing my expectations for the season after 5 games. The season's not finished after 5 games. But there are some concerning patterns that absolutely are starting to emerge. My expectations are exactly the same as they were at the start of the season. Top 3 finish and a domestic cup. And close the gap on the teams above us. We can still do that. There's 33 games left in the Premier League. We can still do that. But there are some worrying patterns emerging. And yeah, no, we can't even think about that. We can't even think about losing to Luton. Oh, sorry, not Luton, sorry, Lincoln. But Again, we go back to yesterday, chat. We're conceding the same type of goals in a lot of games. Long balls and flick-ons, passes over the top. We've got to cut that out. You can't be conceding basic goals like that. You can't be conceding basic goals like that. Balls over the top all the time. You know, that's so weak. It's so feeble. And teams will target that because Tosin's not got much pace. And if you get 1v1 versus Tosin, the chances are you're going to come out on top. The chances are you'll come out on top because Tosin's 1v1 defending is woeful. Tosin's 1v1 defending is piss poor. It really is. If we're going to play Tosin, then we need to have a deeper line. We've got to sit deeper so we don't leave the space in behind. Because too many times we've been caught out with balls over the top, space in behind. You know, we've got to go back to basics, I think. We really do. From a defensive standpoint. And I know this probably isn't going to be happening, but we've got to swallow some pride. Let's stop trying to play out from the back. Let's drop a little bit deeper. Let's play longer. I think I saw in the second half yesterday, chap. We had about 70 or 80% possession in that second half. But it's absolutely pointless because the majority of our passes yesterday were sideways and backwards. 80% possession, literally created pretty much nothing in that second half. We've got to go back to basics. But I don't see that happening. I don't see us going back to the basics, chat. I do not see that at all. You know, and there's 2 points of view here, right? Maresca's either too stubborn and refuses to adapt, and in other cases, when he does react, he makes poor choices. Whether it's stupidity, blind faith in players that he shouldn't have. But if those things continue, they will be costly for us this season. They will be very costly, chat. And we can't afford that. And Enzo had a poor game yesterday. Santos wasn't great in the first half, but second half he improved. He'll probably start against Lincoln, I'd imagine. I imagine he'll start against Lincoln in the cup, and he will get opportunities. Yeah, I don't disagree with this. I don't disagree with it. And again, look, there's no point talking about players coming in now because we're not near January and there's nothing we can do about that. We've got to look at what we've got. But you do have to question the recruitment. You have to. You know, I was happy with a lot of the business, but again, I maintained we left glaring holes in key areas of the squad once again for the umpteenth window in a row. And you cannot do that. You cannot do that at this level. Look at the teams we're trying to compete with. Look at the defensive depth a team like Arsenal have got, for example, and then compare that with our defensive depth. The only places where we've got depth in defence are the fullbacks. For the amount of money we've spent and the number of signings we've made, our centre-back options are really poor. Really, really poor. Yes, Romeo Lavia is a big miss, but he's always injured. Lavia makes a huge, huge difference to this team. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, we know Caicedo's a phenomenal player. Enzo is hit and miss. He had a poor game against United. Brentford, not a great first half like everyone, but he was much improved in that second half against Brentford. The Bayern game, he obviously did struggle, but he's playing as a number 10 in that game. I wasn't expecting him to do much, given it's not his position. There are questions to be asked. There are absolutely questions to be asked here. And yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of worrying signs about Enzo. I don't know what's wrong with Lavia, but you see in the handful of games that Lavia has played for us, you see how important he is. He's so important. I think we've got to be honest here, right? Sarr and Anselmino weren't going to make any difference to our defensive situations right now. Two 19-year-olds or a 19 and a 20-year-old, they may well turn out to be top players. But right now, can we really say we'd be any better if Sarr or Anselmino were playing in the team? I don't think so. I don't think so. Nah, bro, that's nonsense. It's nonsense. He absolutely does. He absolutely does. Mark Gurhey makes this team way better. Mark Gurhey right now walks straight into this team. Walks straight into it. This idea that Gurhey doesn't make us better is just utter nonsense. As is people calling for the manager to go, in my view, is nonsense. He had a bad day yesterday, but he's already proven what he can do. No, look, both things can be true. He walks in, but that can also be a damning indictment on our current centre-backs. And I agree with you there. Problem is, okay, you talk about top level centre-backs. How many top level game-changing centre-backs are there out there that are available? There's not many. You look at a situation when Liverpool signed a Van Dijk from Southampton. Where is that Van Dijk at Southampton situation? There's not many about. You have to... Bro, there was no point getting Hincapié because we bought Hato. And that's the same profile of player. Yes, Hincapié is probably more ready than Hato is, but Hincapié, it makes no sense to sign both Hincapié and Hato, is the point. Bro, I'm not lying. That's your opinion. The guy won 2 trophies in his first season, and he's overachieved with the squad that he's got. We don't know whether he's good enough to compete for the Premier League. But he certainly shouldn't be sacked right now, given the job that he's done. I just don't get that trail of thought at all. No, I wouldn't sack Maresca for Xavi. No. People talk... Xavi's like... Look, Xavi was what? At Al Sadd in Qatar, and then he obviously he did a good job at Barcelona. Maresca will win titles with Barcelona. You know, Xavi could well be a good manager. You know, he might turn out to be a top manager at some point. But no, I wouldn't be swapping him. Yeah, look, they're both... Look, he's more of a centre-back that plays left-back, whereas Hato's a left-back who plays centre-back. But that's my point is you were never going to sign both of them in the squad. It just wasn't going to happen. But this is the thing. We tried desperately to sign Dean Huijsen, you know, at the start of the window. This is what I don't understand. We tried desperately to get Huijsen. We didn't get him. He went to Real Madrid. And then we just abandoned the pursuit of centre-backs completely. This is what I don't get. Baffling decisions. Happy to go and spend £50 million on Jamie Gittins, won't spend 20 million on Mike Mignan. All decisions which do not make any sense. Do not make sense. What also doesn't make sense, chat, is why we're not on 100 likes. We're on 81. That's 19 to go, chat. And we're over 128 in the building. Big up to everyone. Make sure you're smashing that like button. It really, really helps more than you can believe, guys. So make sure you're smashing it up. Subscribe if you're new around here as well. But guys, come on. Let's push this. Get these likes up, guys. Get these likes up. Facts. Facts. I said he absolutely will. He absolutely will. He absolutely will. And look, last week was a big week. It was what? Brentford, Bayern Munich, Man United. Didn't win any of those games. This is a big week coming up as well now. Lincoln in the Cup, then a massive game against Brighton at home. Then it's Benfica and Mourinho coming back in the Champions League. And then it's a home game against Liverpool before the October international break. Those Brighton and Liverpool games are absolutely massive, chat. They're absolutely massive. What are we going to do? What are we going to do, guys? What are we going to do? Oh, bro, this is not going to happen. Oh, mate, I was so wet. I had to, bro, I slept, right? And then got up this morning, clothes still wet. Like, I had to put my damp clothes back on and then get on a train full of City fans going to London. Terrible. Bad day. Hopefully it's not raining in Lincoln. If it's cold, I don't care. Just no more rain, please. Let's have a look at some other stuff, because there's actually some stuff about, and it didn't take long for this stuff to come out. And this is the stuff that is coming out, and it's about Emmanuel Amiga. So, actually, this is the first bit on the Jackson situation, because it's from Fabrizio. In football, never say never, as there could be new managers, new agents, or whatever happens. But if you ask me today, the feeling around Nicholas Jackson and Chelsea is that Jackson won't play for Chelsea again. The story is over. That's not really new news, okay? So we can get rid of that. This here, though, the feeling at Chelsea is that with Nicholas Jackson over, Amiga will take the place of that kind of striker. Yeah, I mean, we said as such when he signed. Also, in terms of skills, obviously they are not the same kind of player, but Chelsea see big potential, and that's why they prepared the deal. I mean, look, I haven't watched an awful lot of Amiga. He's an interesting profile, scores goals. He's 6'5", he's rapid. He's captain at Strasbourg. He's got leadership at a young age. But again, what I went to earlier, you're bringing another young, raw player into the squad. That's going to take time to integrate them in. And this is why it doesn't really feel like we're going anywhere. Because we get to next season, he's going to need time to settle in. We're going to have him games. He's going to need time. He needs to adapt. He needs to do this. He needs to do that. This is what I'm talking about, chat. This is what I'm talking about right now. But bro, where are these Van Dijk level centre backs? Where are they? Because I'm not seeing any. I'm not seeing any. Where are the Van Dijk level centre backs? Someone please tell me. Where are they? Because I'm not seeing them. I'm not seeing any. I'm not seeing any out there at all. Bro, we're not doing this. The guy's not even kicked a ball for us. It doesn't even arrive until next summer, and we're already running. He's not good enough. Let's stop that. You know, we need to stop doing things like that, guys. No, and bro, that doesn't surprise me. That does not surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me. Guys, we're 8 likes away from 100. Keep smashing that like button. It's free. Takes seconds to do. Make sure you run it up. Run it up. Final 8 likes, guys, and keep subscribing as well. Yeah, we know Colwell's injured, bro. We had to bring in a centre back, and that's not on the manager. That isn't on the manager. We had to bring in a centre back, and the club didn't back him with one. The club did not back him with one. That's poor. Really poor, guys. Oh, now all the hold on. Bro, we're not getting Bastoni. People keep mentioning Bastoni all this. No, he's not. That's not confirmed. Apparently, there might be an option to bring him in January. I think at this rate, we might have to. If we can, then I think we need to. Bro, at this point, you can't write players off before they've even kicked a ball for the club. Whether they turn out to be good or not, we'll find out in due course. We can't be writing players off before they've joined the football club. We can't be doing that. Bro, Palmer's been injured since the Club World Cup. You know, he's been managing that groin problem since the Club World Cup. And that in itself is a problem. It's problematic because he's had a groin issue since then, and obviously missed those 2 games against West Ham and he missed those games against West Ham and Fulham. Missed the international break with England. Palmer's been getting through games since the Club World Cup on pain-killing injections. That's not sustainable. I don't know what the solution is for this groin situation. Is it a surgery? Is it just something you manage? Do you just give it rest for a couple of weeks and he misses a couple of games and then... I don't know. But we can't go through the season on-off with this... managing Palmer situation and the groin injury. All right, yeah, I will put a poll in the chat. Let me put a poll in the chat now. I need to end this poll first. How do I do that? End poll. And I'll do that. We'll start a poll. And we'll do it. Right. Let's see what we're going to get from this from certain people. I know that I'm only doing this purely because people want it on. This doesn't reflect my opinions. Yeah, it's a problem. But I think, look, we need to, for me, we need to bring Amiga in January, and we need to sign a centre back. Those are the two things which need to be done. Amiga needs to arrive, and a centre back needs to arrive in January. What happens between now and January? Nobody knows. But we've got to. Because otherwise we are running the risk of being in a sort of a top 4, top 5. No, bro, we're not going to recall Penders. Yeah, of course he will be. Yeah. Oh, I don't see why wouldn't he be? Why would he not be here in January? So someone please explain why he wouldn't be here in Jan. I don't get that. Yeah, but if we end up getting Mignan in January, it just makes a mockery because we should have just signed him in the summer and not wasted 6 months. You know, this is the point that I'm trying to make. This is the point I'm trying to make, guys. Because if you do get Mignan in January, it means you were wrong not to pay the money, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, well we got him for a cheaper deal." But yeah, we wasted 6 months of the fucking season. Which is poor. Mate, he's not going to get sacked. Things would have to get a lot worse for him to get sacked. They'd have to get a lot worse than they currently are. They'd have to get a lot worse. Let me make that perfectly clear, people. It would have to get a lot worse. Nice, big up, brother. Asugo and Lavia and Santos are more suited for Premier League compared to like the idea that Enzo's too slow is just nonsense because all the stats debunk that about he's not athletic enough, or he can't get round the pitch. That simply isn't the case. It might appear like that to some people, but that isn't the case at all. Because the stats show about the distance that he covers, you know, and all those sorts of things. So he doesn't struggle to get round the pitch. That simply isn't true. Simply is not true, guys. I don't get why, like this Enzo Fernandez thing. Like he didn't play well yesterday. His passing was poor. Didn't have a good game. But people always run this thing, oh, he's not athletic enough. He can't get up and down the pitch. And it just simply isn't true. Because we've seen him do it multiple times, and the stats will show in terms of his distance covered, the runs that he makes, that simply isn't true. So it may look like that, and I would admit it that at times it's looked like that, but all the data disproves that trail of thought. But again, lack of options up front. Another thing that I said, guys, another thing that I said, lack of options up front is going to bite us in the arse. One injury, and we're playing Tyreek George up front. And this is what I said, guys. This is what I said. Bro, this is a load of massive ifs, buts, and maybes. And again, it would depend on the context of both of those games and what happened. There's so many variables there. But I don't think we lose on Tuesday. No. Saturday, no. I'm confident that we can bounce back and win both of those games. Yeah, I think that's blatantly obvious. That's bad. Oh. I think that's blatantly obvious. And this as well. This is true. There has been poor squad planning. No doubt about it at all. Poor squad planning, chap. And this is not what we're looking for. Not what we're looking for. And that's where I do cut some slack. That's where I do cut slack. No, bro, George needs to go. Oh, no, I didn't say it was a good window. I said I liked the window. I felt on the whole it was decent, but I was concerned about no goalkeeper, no centre back, and a lack of depth at centre forward. And all those worries have been laid bare in the opening 5 games. Bro, yes, we had the over restrictions. If you know that's going to be the case, don't go and sign 5 attackers. Sign 3 and get a goalkeeper and a centre back. Oh, bro, you're so blinded by your agenda. Manager's fault that Sanchez got a red card. That's the manager's fault. Manager's fault we can't defend the long throw-in. Manager's fault Tosin can't defend 1v1. All these are the manager's fault, yeah? Cool. Good one. Sanchez cost us the game, and the Maresca's subs were terrible. We've already been through this. Maresca's management yesterday was poor. But in general, across this season, it's not his fault we dropped points to Brentford because we couldn't defend a set play. Again, not his fault the goals that we conceded because we can't fucking defend. The quality is not good enough on the football pitch. Yeah, the in-game management was woeful yesterday. I've said that multiple times. Was not good enough. Yes, he picks the side, but it's not the manager's fault that players make decisions that they make. He puts the players out there, and the team we put out yesterday was the best team that we've pretty much got available. And it's not the manager's fault that these players keep making mistakes. Individual mistakes. So it's the manager's fault that Sanchez ran out of his goal and took Mbeumo out. That's the manager's fault, is it? Look, if he doesn't want to bring them on, I get it. But as I said earlier, you have to use the squad you've got. Whether you like the squad you've got, whether you like the options that you've been given, it's stupid not to use them. Because the options that he didn't use yesterday would have been beneficial for us. Garnacho should have played. Mark Guiu maybe should have got some minutes. Yeah, yesterday was terrible. Absolutely terrible. We all know this. We all know this. It was utterly abysmal. Utterly abysmal. But yeah, what can we do? It was so poor. So poor. Bro, both of them aren't good enough. It's as simple as that. Yeah, there's absolutely potentially a degree of that. Sure, I think that's probably a fair thing to say. I think there's definitely a degree of that. 100%. There's a degree of that. No doubt about it. Yeah, I'm there. I'm there. And this is my point. You know, Maresca wanted a goalkeeper. Maresca wanted a centre back. Didn't get either of those. And those are two of our biggest problematic positions. You know, these are our biggest problematic positions, guys. But look, it's not. Look, it feels like it's doom and gloom. It's nowhere near as bad as what people are making out. It's not great, but it's not as bad as what people might think it is. But we need to start picking up results. We need to start picking up wins, and we need to start doing it fast. We need to start doing it fast, chat. We have to. There are zero excuses. Bro, Sarr and Anselmino were never part of the plans for this season. They were never part of the plans. They're signed for the future. They're signed for the future. They were never going to be part of the first team squad this season. You know, this is the point. And it is difficult. It is tough, people. It absolutely is tough. Look, we're 7 points off the top after 5 games. It's not ideal. It's not ideal. But if we look at the table, it's not, you know, there's still 33 games left. A lot can happen and a lot can change. A lot can happen and a lot can change, guys. And a lot probably will change. Bro, Sterling's done. Sterling's never playing for this football club again. Well, why are we talking about? Why are we talking about Sterling for? Well, why are people mentioning Sterling? I'm confused. Why are people mentioning Sterling? But again, as said by Shano here, like 100%. You know, this really what it boils down to is poor squad planning. That's what it comes down to. Too much overhaul, too high a volume of players in against players out, and too many unknown quantities coming into the football club. It's too unsettling. 5 attackers in and 4 out is a major overhaul in a key area of the pitch. That in itself, guys, is a problem. That is a problem. Let's be perfectly clear on that. That is a problem. Look, maybe he is, but he needs to suck it up. This is what he's got, and he's got to make better use of it. There's no point sulking about it now. It's done, and we've got to make use of it. Yeah, like, he was feeding off scraps yesterday. Had some nice touches here and there, ran tirelessly. He's the only summer signing that's made the first team better. The only one. That Gittins is left wing and Madueke is right wing. I don't think the tactics were crap at Bayern. And the tactics, we never really got to see what the tactics were because the game changed after 5 minutes. But yeah, after that, the subs and the management of the game were shocking. But look, I don't think we need to be going over the top on the manager, personally. I really don't think we need to be going over the top on the manager. That would be my opinion. I don't think we need to go over the top on the gaffer. Improvements required. Look, I agree. You know, there's too many players who aren't good enough or aren't good enough right now. And that in itself is a problem. And this is what I've constantly talked about in terms of it's always, oh, this team might be good in 12 months, might be good in 18 months. What about the now? What about right now? This team needs to be good right now. And there's too many players who aren't good enough. Too many players who aren't of the required level or the required standard right now. And that's poor. And that's poor. Who will play in the cup on Tuesday? Fuck knows. Hopefully Garnacho plays. Yeah, but bro, it's frustrating. It's all ifs. If we'd beaten Brentford, if we would have 2 more points, if we'd done this, we'd done that. The point is we didn't do it. You know, we can't do ifs and buts with football. We've got to deal with the reality. And the reality is that we've dropped 5 points in 2 games, which we should be getting a bare minimum of 4 points from. And we got 1. We got 1 out of 6, and we should have got 4 at a bare minimum. A bare minimum should have been 4 points. Possibly. But I don't know what you're talking about. Where have I accepted mediocrity? Please tell me where I've accepted it. I'm confused. Where have I accepted mediocrity? Please tell me. Because I certainly haven't accepted any mediocrity. By the way, guys, keep smashing up the likes. Subscribe if you're new around here. All of that good stuff, people. Let's keep it moving. Get these likes up. Keep subscribing. Look, centre backs. I think Achampong will play. Fafana probably plays in the cup as well. Maybe Badiashile comes back. Midfield, Santos. Hopefully Lavia's fit. Striker, we haven't got anyone. I think Tyreek George probably plays as centre forward. I think Tyreek George will play as centre forward against Lincoln. Garnacho, maybe we see Gittins. I don't know. Like the injuries and stuff is a bit of a problem for the rotation. What a day yesterday. Half our fan base delusional say we can still be title challengers and win the league. Yeah, it's a bad day. A really bad day. But it's never as bad as you think it is. But we have to start putting results on the board fast now. Fast. We've got to start putting results on the board fast, chat. We really do. It was a lack of urgency in attack, bro, because there was no fucking attackers on the pitch. That's why there was a lack of urgency, because there were no attackers. No attackers equals lack of urgency, guys. That's why we were finished. But I think, you know, the criticism of the manager for this game, absolutely warranted. But criticism of the manager overall, I think, is massively, massively over the top, guys. I really do. I really do. But anyway, he says, hold that, you frauds. And he's still got a photo of Garnacho in a Man United shirt. He's gone, bro. Look, build-up play at the back is suffering big time from Colwell not being there. I fully get that. I fully get that, guys. And yeah, it was a disgusting match. Disgusting match. But yeah, look, guys. It's not looking great. Some concerns, but it's never as bad as you think it is. That's the most important thing. We've got an opportunity to respond on Tuesday night, get that win, and then head into a huge, huge game against Brighton next weekend. We've got to get W's on the board and fast. We've got to put this week behind us, move forward. This week's not going to define the season. This week will not define the season, but things can unravel pretty quickly if we don't start getting some positive results before the next international break. Guys, it's been a pleasure as always. Make sure you smash up the like, subscribe if you're new around here. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. I'll be back tomorrow with Nina, 1 p.m. UK time for the show that hasn't got a name yet. So anyone who's got any name suggestions, let me know. We'll be looking ahead to a big week, chatting all things Chelsea as always. Make sure you stay tuned for that. See you lot tomorrow. Thanks for the support as always, guys. Hopefully things will get better. Smash the like, subscribe, up the Chelsea, and we're out. Love.